everyone.
Hello.
Right, so today it's the second half of Mr. Binger. The prosecutor, state attorney, whatever, for Carl Rittenhouse. Well, to arrest, charge.
Yeah.
Try
Charge.
Try the case. Yeah. Sorry, it's very late in the evening.
We've been doing stuff. We be doing stuff.
Yeah. We've been like tidying out. Well, it's a slow process because we don't want to go too fast and we just want to take our time. But yeah, we've been going through like our stuff in the basement, and the apartment, so we can clear out more crap and actually have it somewhat organized.
You don't know how much crap you have until you've seen the crap you have.
Until your girlfriend goes, you know how much crap we have? And then all of a sudden, it's there. Anyway, back to this.
Oh. Your Honor, before we proceed to the defense opening, it's my understanding that counsel is going to be showing videos to the jury.
Okay.
These aren't evidence yet. I don't know what's going to be shown. And I think it's unusual procedure. I've often considered using exhibits in my opening statement, and I think it's generally accepted that they're not evidence yet. So we can't be showing them to the jury unless they're in evidence, and we don't have any of this in evidence yet. So I would object to that.
Well, he does need to tell you what he intends to show. I got to turn things on here. He does need to tell you what he proposes to show, and me too. But the rule does not preclude their use during opening statement at all. What's up, Mr.
Your Honor, the first slide is a jury instruction, part of self-defense. The second slide is...
Hang on, let's just have a look at Mr. Binger's face.
So I would object to that.
Well, he does need to tell you what he intends to show.
What?
Wait, what?
No, that's not fair. God, he's just a piece of shit.
He still looks one of those scientists that gets nom-nommed. Let's put a white coat on him and just picture any, non-named scientist in any kind of sci-fi or horror movie.
Scientist number 5.
Yeah. Guy gets nom-nommed, scene-free.
I mean, he could, you could just throw him back to the early 2000s and no one would know the difference because of that fucking haircut right there.
Yeah.
Slide is a picture of Joseph Rosenbaum wearing the maroon shirt for identification purposes. The third is a video at the Ultimate Gas of...
Oh yeah, so also up here, that's Carl's mom and that's his sister. So yeah. I couldn't imagine being in his mother's position right now. Like, I know the title's over it, but yeah, I could not imagine being in her position.
Oh, interesting. It says media.
No.
Oh, no. Go there.
What, there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shouldn't they be sitting back further back?
No, I don't think so. You wouldn't want the media to be constantly staring over your shoulder at what you're writing or anything.
Yeah.
So KR is for Carl Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
I don't think this. I mean, I'm pretty. All courts would have their own systems. This just seems like it's the easiest one.
Yeah.
Because it's most likely it'll change on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So I don't. What does that say? It's got like numbers. Is it? Because it's reserved.
Yeah.
Media, like you pointed out. It's an R. R-E... I don't know what it says.
It says something. That's for sure.
But I mean, it's a very pretty courtroom. Like the Virginia court, it's very pretty. The chairs look expensive.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, let's get back to this.
Of Mr. Rosenbaum having to be restrained. The fourth is a still photograph of Mr. Rosenbaum walking down the street after arming himself with the chain. The fifth is a picture of Joseph Rosenbaum taken from the video at the Ultimate gas station of him and Mr. Zeminski. The sixth photograph is once again a picture taken by Nathan DeBrune of Joshua Zeminski and Joseph Rosenbaum starting a fire at the trailer. And in that one, Mr. Rosenbaum is wearing a blue mask. Number 7 is a picture from the Ultimate gas station taken from a video of somebody who's commonly been referred to in this as Yellow Pants Man, Kelly and Joshua Zeminski, showing Joshua Zeminski armed with the weapon that was the first weapon fired at car source number 3. Number 8 is a picture for identification of Richie McGinnis. Number 8 is a picture of how Richie McGinnis was dressed that evening so he can be identified in the videos. Number 9 is Gage Groskwitz and his backpack taken from a video that...
I'm sorry, what?
Squids.
Gage Groskwitz. I mean, yeah.
Okay. Nah, good for you.
Thanks. Thanks, captions.
Yep.
Even captions don't like that, boy.
I have like ADD, ADHD, and
Yeah.
when I read stuff, my mind like paints pictures. And
Wasn't there a Dragon Ball Z character called Gage?
yeah.
Imagine him like Vector with the squid gun.
Yeah.
that has been agreed to be introduced into evidence. Number 10 is a still photograph of Gage Groskwitz running down Sheridan Road towards my client, arming himself. You can see him pulling the gun out of his back waistband. Number 11 is a still photograph of Anthony Huber holding his skateboard. And then number 12 is a picture of Anthony Huber holding his skateboard so you can see the whole skateboard, but dressed the same way as it is in number 11. Number 13 is Anthony Huber holding Mr. Rosenbaum back at the confrontation at Ultimate. Number 14 is the photograph of Jump Kick Man, the non-complaining witness, kicking my client in the head. 15 are 2 close-up photographs taken from that of the shoes of Jump Kick Man. 16 is a photograph of 11:40 p.m. when Kyle Rittenhouse is going out with Mr. Balch, and he's confronted by Yellow Pants Man and 3 other armed individuals that evening. And those photographs are blown up in 17, showing one individual with a noose, the other individual with rocks in each hand, and the other one a picture of the individual in the blue shirt armed. 18 is a video where Mr. Rittenhouse tried to return to the 59th Street car source and was stopped by law enforcement and the Bearcats. Number 19 is a still photograph taken from Mr. Rittenhouse at Ultimate as he's leaving with a fire extinguisher, his medical pack, and his gun heading towards car source 3. 20 is the video, what's called the infrared video, with Kelly Zeminski, Joshua Zeminski, Rosenbaum, my client, and Richie McGinnis circled and identified. 11:48 is a still photograph of Mr. Zeminski's arm in the air firing the first weapon, the first shot. 22 is that same photograph from the video, same video, a photo just a couple of seconds later with 2 circles, one identifying Mr. Rosenbaum in yellow and another one showing Mr. Zeminski with his arm raised firing. 23 is a video taken from, and I always forget this gentleman's name, Lucas Zanin, from 63rd Street, right west of Sheridan, which forms the south edge of Car Source, and that's what Kyle was running to. There's approximately 100 people there, bashing all the car windows, in there with pipes, bats, things like that, jumping on the cars. And you hear the first shot, which is Zeminski's, and people kind of stop a little bit. And then you see Kyle, you hear the next shot, and all of those people start taking off from Car Source. 24 is the video where Kyle begins leaving Car Source 3 after the shooting. And on that video, you hear somebody who has been identified as Kelly Zeminski yelling, "Get him, kill him," things like that. He just shot him. 25 is Gage Grosswitz's video where he runs up to Kyle. It's about 7 seconds. Runs up to him as he's running down Sheridan. At that.
Hang on. This is going to be an opening statement.
Yeah.
It's a bit much, isn't it? We were like looking at the back, you know when you look at the back of the book and it gives you like a little quick synopsis of the story?
Yeah.
With no spoilers. This is like the entire book being written in tiny ass font on the back of the book.
Yeah.
I can understand why.
Or is he
Because-
presenting the evidence which will gonna be in the trial right now?
It is going to be in evidence. That's what Binger was complaining about because he's a little bitch. But I mean, I do understand why he's complaining because it hasn't even. It's not even in evidence yet. But I find, and I do understand on oh god, what's his name? Mr. Richards. This guy is I think his name is Mark Richards. But I do understand on his side because Binger doesn't provide context. It's like Elaine and Ben. Well, Rotten Turd and Brederhoff. They don't provide context. When there's context around it, it doesn't, the argument doesn't stand up. And that's why I agree, but I also agree with Binger's side. But yeah, so he's not up next. This part 2 of Binger, I think. I don't fucking know.
At that point, Mr. Grosswitz is unarmed. He asked Kyle what he did. Kyle said, "I'm going to turn myself into the police. I had to." Photograph 26 is for BG on the screen. Photograph of an unidentified individual in a white sleeveless or what's which was a wife beater shirt, hitting Mr. Rittenhouse in the head, knocking his cap off. And then right after that, you see the next photograph from that video of circled Mr. Huber picking up after a skateboard, which he had used to strike my client in the head. The next photograph is a still photograph of an individual running up to Kyle as he's on the ground. There are several individuals in that photograph. One of those individuals being Jump Kick Man approaching from Kyle's right. And the next photograph is him kicking Kyle in the head. 30 is the picture of the close-up of that and the shoes. 31 is a photograph of Mr. Huber striking Kyle Rittenhouse in the head with his skateboard held by the trucks in his right hand.
Held what?
The trucks of the skateboard.
Did I look like I skateboard?
They're called trucks.
Okay, wheels. To me, they're wheels.
Fine. The wheels with his right hand.
Do I look like I skateboard? We don't know what you do in your spare time, Your Honor. I do like this judge. He's very good. He's funny.
Trucks.
Okay, wheels. To me, they're wheels.
Fine. The wheels with his right hand while he's grabbing Kyle's gun, his bare hand, touching Kyle's gun with his left hand. The next photograph is depicting Jump Kick Man getting up from the ground, Mr. Huber with his hand once again on the gun going forward and still having his skateboard. 33 is a close-up of that photo. 34 is, you can see the strap on Mr. Rittenhouse's gun being pulled taut. Mr. Groskowitz running into the frame from the right of the frame. Next is Gage Groskowitz standing in front of Kyle Rittenhouse with his hands up. Kyle does not shoot. Next, Gage Groskowitz lunges forward with his right hand pointing directly, and that is when the shot is fired. And then there's a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse on the ground, individuals approaching him, one with a pipe, one with his hands up. He backs them off, does not fire. 11:51, him video trying to turn himself into the Kenosha Police Department and turned away. And the final is a photograph from the Antioch Police Department surveillance cam at 1:20 a.m. of Mr. Rittenhouse and his mother turning himself into the Antioch Police Department.
I guess we don't need any witnesses. We've got the whole trial there. I thought the opening statement was supposed to be a summary of the evidence, not the evidence itself. This is, I think we're up to 41 videos and photos that are going to be seemingly introduced through the testimony of Attorney Mark Richards. This is a highly unusual procedure, Judge. Both sides will have the opportunity to call witnesses to talk about these things. We will have an opportunity in closing arguments to characterize these things. But to give the jury what the defense considers, and I'm not conceding that these things are all the evidence or even that a lot of these things are relevant, but for the opening statement to essentially be the entire defense case and all the evidence, showing it to them is highly unusual. I took the approach in my opening statement, and I guess I was not pushing the envelope as far as I should have, but it's always been my approach that I will describe what I believe the evidence is going to be, but I'm not the witness. I'm not giving them the evidence. That's what the testimony.
Hang on. So, because, and this isn't the first time, right, that Binger does this. Because Binger doesn't understand the law and or ruling, he thinks because he's an idiot, the other side should be stupid too. Like, granted, I do think it's weird. I mean, it's not all the evidence, and I think that's dishonest to say it is.
Yeah.
Like, they've got surveillance cameras from multiple different angles from multiple different businesses. I think at least everyone there had a phone. In fact, I'm pretty sure there was, because it says on the top here on the title, Corey Washington, Facebook influencer. He was live streaming.
Yeah.
Like the whole. Bless you. Don't even know what that was.
It sounded like it came from there.
Anyway, so like it's. I mean, I would assume that police had body camera footage, if not, dash cam footage. It's just really dishonest. For him to say all the evidence. It's not. And it's not his fault that you're an idiot. I don't think it's highly unusual. The judge said it's not unusual.
If he says it's not unusual, then it's not.
I do wonder if this guy, Binger, if he's just used to going into, well, this is going to question his integrity, but I mean, his integrity will be in question throughout this trial, so, and his, morality compass and just his professionalism overall. But I wonder if he's used to going into courtrooms where he knows the judge, or the judge knows it's, they protect each other. There's no actual justice.
Yeah. That or Elaine things, that never actually goes to court.
I don't think that. I mean, if you look between how he dresses and how Elaine dresses, they're not on the same scale at all.
No.
I would assume you get paid more money to go into trial.
Yeah, and she's dressed up by the cats.
No, they picked her outfit. Don't insult the cat's taste. It's not their fault that they have to work with trash. But yeah, it's annoying. It's already irritating me, and we're not even that far in. Jesus Lord. By the end of this, I'm gonna be in a hugging jacket, crying, just crying, being a cat's turds. Back to the
for. We've had a stipulation as to the authenticity of a lot of the things that counsel has talked about. That does not mean that they're admissible into evidence. It does not mean we're conceding relevance to those things. And I anticipate that there will be some arguments as to the relevance of a lot of these things. We've already had some arguments about some of these things. So, you know, you stressed to the jury that the opening statements would be brief. It took 5 minutes for him to list all of those things, let alone what it's going to take to actually show them and play them for the jury. So I think, as a general policy, Your Honor, and I understand it's not necessarily the law, but witnesses should be presenting evidence, not the attorneys in their opening statement. So I object to this procedure. I think it's overly long. It's duplicative of what the evidence is going to be. There'll be an opportunity through witnesses to present all of that. I think counsel should be describing what he thinks the evidence is going to show. That's appropriate. But showing them all the evidence this way, why do we even need witnesses at this point? I'll get up and I'll play all the videos I want to play. They'll play all the videos they want to play, and then we'll just be done without any testimony. That's not the way this trial should work. So I don't think this is a proper procedure, Your Honor, and I do object to it.
Okay. Well, first of all, are you going to be able to authenticate each and every one of these?
All of these come from exhibits that have been agreed or stipulated to their authenticity.
And they're all going to be relevant?
They all are relevant. They've all been...
It sounded like what I've already heard about.
This is what I mean. This is how, I mean, aside from the judge just being an absolute lad, I mean, he kind of looks a bit possessed there, but we'll ignore the pausing.
I was thinking of the Emperor in Star Wars.
I am the leader.
I am the judge.
But anyway, so aside from that, Kyle's, because Kyle, did you know that Kyle actually goes onto the stand?
Yep.
Aside from that, you know, Binger is actually, he's in, for me anyway, personally, he's in like top 3 of the highlights of this entire trial.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean his entry there is a good thing.
No.
Because he's just so dishonest, and
I remember he gets yelled at by the judge.
a lot, Steph.
Oh, yeah.
I actually felt really bad for the jury because it's keep going in and out because the judge had to keep reprimanding Binger.
I was like, how was it being there? It's like, yeah, we were exercising a lot. I never walked so much in my life.
Also, I mean, this is going to come out later on, but he tried to imply something like, I'm trying to remember what it was, but basically he tried to use Carl's post-arrest silence as something like negative. When it's the fucking Fifth Amendment.
Yeah.
Like, that's when the judge is just, you can see he's seething.
And
oh boy, he rips Binger a new one. But like, this just goes to show, and this is at the start. Like, if it's all been agreed upon, they've all been authenticated, why would he not show them? If it was me, I would argue on the sheer amount of them. That's what I would argue on.
Yeah.
I would only argue on the amount of the evidence. Well, things that they're going to show in opening statements.
Yeah.
The jury's going to see it anyway.
By and large, The standard is not what you did or what you can do or could do. The standard is what the law allows, and I can remember studying this 50 years ago that this was an acceptable way, with judicial permission, to make an opening statement. We see it more in civil cases than in criminal. It's not customary in criminal cases, but I've seen it done by your office. And I have to say that you're right. This is a record number in terms of the numbers. But on the other hand, there's a large number of crimes being charged and separate acts that are being asserted with respect to both the acts that the state alleges were unlawful and the defendant's claim of self-defense. So, given that they do appear all to be relevant and they've been agreed as authentic, then I don't see any reason that I should interfere with his right to make an opening statement. Mr. Binger makes a good point in reinforcing my comment that this is supposed to be brief and informative. So
I don't think I'll be any longer than him, Your Honor.
Bless you. All right, anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. One of the motions in limine I filed, which was not objected to by the defense, is that there be no reference to any pending or prior criminal cases or convictions with regard to Joseph Rosenbaum. The parties are aware, the jury is not, that there was at the time of his death a pending criminal case between Joseph Rosenbaum and his girlfriend, Carrie Ann Swart, and there was a bond condition that prohibited Mr. Rosenbaum from having contact with her. The purpose of my motion in limine, which, as I said earlier, was not objected to by the defense, was we're not going to talk about that. Now, I made a reference in my opening statement to the fact that Mr. Rosenbaum saw Ms. Swart that night and basically was not allowed to stay with her or was not able to stay with her that night, so he left her residence. And I purposely worded it that way, Your Honor, because there are many reasons why someone may not be able to stay at someone's residence. It could be because of a bond condition. It could be for a myriad of other reasons. It's my understanding from an off-the-record discussion with counsel that he intends to go into this. He believes I've opened the door to it. I wanted a pretrial ruling from the court on this issue. We got one. And I'm now raising it because if it's going to be mentioned in the opening statement, I think this is the time to address this issue rather than in the middle of an opening statement. So I'm bringing it back up again. I do not believe that my statement opened the door to it. And frankly, my statement is not evidence. So I don't know that it can really open the door anyway. But by and large, I was very careful in the way I worded that. And I don't think it opened the door. I don't think, regardless, this is a relevant issue for this trial. Mr. Rosenbaum's conduct with regard to Ms. Swart has nothing to do with what was going on the street that night. So it is completely irrelevant, and I would ask that the court reaffirm its prior ruling on my motion in limine.
So, no.
You opened the door. It was wider opened than the hole in Titanic. It's like...
I can understand why he doesn't want it to go into.
Yeah,
because it will prejudice the jury.
Yeah.
If you're not aware, Joseph Rosenbaum, I think I mentioned this in the last video, the last video of Carl Rittenhouse. But Joseph Rosenbaum had been accused of diddling his girlfriend's kids, as well as, and there's previous convictions of him doing it to other children.
Yeah.
So he's a repeat offender. And obviously, no one's going to be like, oh no, we should punish the guy that rid our community of a predator.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can understand why he doesn't want the jury to know.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to mention it.
No, you could just have shut up about that and not...
You could have just said that he was in the area. Or that he had gone to hospital.
Yeah.
For something completely unrelated. There, done.
Yeah.
Even that might open the door. But I don't think, like, the fact that he went into the fact that he saw his girlfriend that night and that he wasn't allowed to stay there. Or he wasn't able to stay there. That doesn't... What is that got anything to do with it?
He fudged up there. It's like Amber Heard and Kate Moss shit.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have a band in the background saying yes.
And then Kate Moss is appearing.
Yeah.
I don't understand what his point was in saying that. What is the relevance as to why he can't stay? Like, what is the relevance? I can see it from both sides at this point.
He should have gone.
Why
Your
did
Honor, I fight shop. I'm sorry.
But like, I can see from both sides. Why would he mention why Joseph couldn't stay at his girlfriend's house? But also, why would you mention that he wasn't able to stay there? Just to say, he had seen his girlfriend that night. That's it. Don't mention about that he wasn't able to stay there. None of that. Who gives a shit? He's dead. You can't espouse us to... You essentially, what he... And this is... Again, it goes to how snidey he is and how just manipulative he is. He's trying to imply... I get the impression that he tried to imply that Joseph wouldn't be there, therefore he wouldn't have been dead if he was able to stay at his girlfriend's house.
Yeah.
That's why I think he said it. And I mean, to be quite honest, if that's the case, if my opinion is true on the impression that he was trying to give, then absolutely the other side can go into as to why he wasn't allowed there.
Yeah.
But we'll continue.
Your Honor, he can't have it both ways. He can't go and say he was at the house and he couldn't stay there and not. Why can't we tell the jury why? Because there was a no contact order. It's not appropriate. He thinks he didn't open the door, but he danced through the door. And he also talked about the hospital, got out of the hospital. He was in a mental hospital. And he's going to put her on the witness stand and we're not going to get to ask that? I mean, that's insane.
I was very careful about the word hospital, Your Honor. I believe it was actually St. Luke's in Racine, which is a medical facility. It is not a mental institution. This wasn't Mendota or Winnebago or something along those lines. And frankly, I'm not even 100% certain why he chose to check himself in. But again, whether or not Mr. Rosenbaum needed a new kidney or needed medications for mental illness or was going in to have his blood pressure checked has nothing to do with the events of this night. And frankly, it's just a backdoor way of attacking his character and suggesting to this jury that somehow because there's going to be an allegation from the defense that he had some sort of mental illness that had something to do with his behavior that night. I'd love to hear an expert on that, I guess, if they want to try and present that. And we can go down that line and we can talk about whether mental illness contributed to his behavior. What was his diagnosis? What medications were he on? We could open that door and go all the way through it, but that's a mini trial on an irrelevant issue. And if it's going to come in, there's a way to get it in through an other acts motion, which was never filed by the defense. And I certainly have not opened the door when I talk about the word hospital. This could be COVID treatment. It could be a kidney transfer. It could be anything. It does not open the door. And again, I was very careful in the way I worded that, Your Honor. You know, if I start talking about his medications or I start talking about, you know, seeing a psychiatrist or something like that, that's different. Hospital is a very nebulous term that could mean a myriad of things.
You know, help me out here. I thought when I read the pretrial motions, and I know there were a series of them on which there was agreement, so I probably may not have the best recall of those because I didn't have to put too much thought into it. But I thought that the references or the statements which were attributed to Mr. Rosenbaum were, "I just got out of jail today." You're telling me that there was also a discussion about hospital? No? Or
there's no video or statements or audio of Mr. Rosenbaum talking about the hospital. The only relevance it has, Your Honor.
Well, wait a minute. So
sure.
It was. Is there testimonial? Are we going to hear testimony that he made statements that he had just gotten out of jail that day?
There's going to be statements to that effect.
Okay.
In
fact, your statement on your opening statement was, and I will tell you this. I'm going to ask you to try to reconstruct from you if necessary. I'll have the reporter read it, but I don't recall the exact statement. I do know that I thought at the time, I'm surprised he's going into this because it may trigger a response. So what exactly did you tell the jury?
What I said, Your Honor, is that Mr. Rosenbaum had gotten out of the hospital that day and was carrying around a plastic bag, which is the kind of bag that hospitals give you to carry around your personal belongings. The only relevance that has to this case is that's the bag.
I just wanted to get
sure.
the statement.
Yeah, and I was doing that because the bag comes in, and that's the only relevance.
Okay, now, and you also made a statement about his being with the person by whom he was allegedly bound not to have contact.
That's true.
And do we know the exact scope of that order?
I believe it was a straight, typical no
don't tell me
contract.
typical. No.
We can look it up, Your Honor.
Yeah. Well, what did you say about it? What did you say about it?
What I said is that he had seen her after he got out of the hospital,
Right.
that he couldn't stay with her, and so then he left and essentially came downtown. And Ms. Swart will testify,
Why
and
did
she
you
will
say
talk.
that he couldn't stay with her?
I'm sorry?
Why did you say that he couldn't stay with her?
I said that because it explains why he left and came downtown. He's got a hospital bag, Your Honor. It's a little unusual, I think, for someone to be released from a hospital, have a bag of their personal belongings, go to their girlfriend's place, and then continue to walk around with it. That's a little unusual. We know what was really going on.
And by the way, how do we know that?
Little unusual. Little unusual.
Well, what he could have done is not mention that at all.
Yeah, just shut fuck. Blah, 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 blah. You're making my speech go away.
He didn't have to mention that at all.
No.
It's like he's doing quantity over quality.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just trying to stack the deck on how many people are against Kyle. And it's like, that doesn't fucking matter. You could have 20 people said, I saw this, and this. But then you've got surveillance videos that don't match up with what they're saying. You've got the person's camera, the recording that they have not matching what they're saying. And you could have just the person themselves matching CCTV, which is unbiased.
Yep.
Doesn't have an opinion, doesn't have a motive or an objective to get to. And you can have their cameras.
Yeah.
Which could be kind of biased, because, I mean, if someone's beating the shit out of him, turn the camera away.
Yeah.
Deny seeing it.
Yeah.
But it's just like... He's so dishonest, and he's becoming an Amber Heard for me. Lying bitch.
He had been there and had left. Is she going to testify?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so she's going to talk about seeing him. She's going to talk about that bag, and she's going to say she saw what was in that bag. And this comes into play, Your Honor, because this is the bag that was thrown at the defendant. There's been some allegations out there that this is a Molotov cocktail, or it's got chemicals in it, or it's got something that could cause the defendant harm. It had toothpaste, mouthwash, a water bottle in it. That's the narrow relevance of this bag.
Well,
that's why the
I'm not
hospital.
concerned. The relevance is not something I want to talk about now. I want to talk about what you said and why he thinks it is worthy of response.
He's misrepresenting the facts of the case to the jury by saying hospital when it was a mental hospital. Mr. Binger knows full well.
Why isn't that a hospital?
He had gotten out for a suicide attempt.
So?
And
It's a hospital.
And let the jury know what type of hospital it was. Why he was acting the way he was. He was not acting appropriately. That's part of the defense. And then he goes and says, can't stay there. Why can't he stay there? Because there's a court order that says he can't. He wasn't supposed to go there in the first part.
And if he was on trial for violating his bond, then we'd have that trial. But he hasn't been tried or convicted of that because he's deceased. But, Your Honor, and by the way, we have the bond condition here. It's no contact, including the residence, electronic or third party, with Carrie Ann Swart and the Park Ridge Inn, which she stays there, and they had been staying there together until that criminal case started. So, if we want to charge Mr. Rosenbaum with violating his bond, what good would it do? He's deceased. But yes, that is true. But again, it doesn't make him a criminal on this evening. It doesn't make his behavior help explain any of that stuff.
I don't think, as far as your opening statement, you need to respond to his statement about the hospital. I'll have to separately decide at a later point as to whether he had been hospitalized and for what. I don't know if that's admissible or not. I suspect that it is not, but I'll keep an open mind. As far as his not being there or not supposed to be there, again, I'm not sure that I want to hear about that in your opening statement. But again, I'll hear you later as to why you think that would be relevant.
Just because he's talking about my client traveling here from out of bounds,
right.
And he's trying to say, oh, he had a good excuse for not being at home. He couldn't stay there that night. Well, jury should know why he couldn't stay there.
Well, I don't know. If he can't stay there, he can't stay there. She could have picked him out because she didn't like his having a hospital bag. I don't know. I'm not sure it's necessarily relevant. He was where he, like the defendant, was not supposed to be, allegedly, and we'll let it play out. But don't talk about those two things in your opening statement. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Hello.
Would you come down, please?
Yes.
Okay. when you're dealing. All right, good. Welcome back. What did I say? 10 minutes, right? Judicial time. When you're dealing with, what do we got? 5, 6 lawyers in the room? What do you expect? All right, let's go, Mr. Richards.
Can you please record, ladies and gentlemen of the
Oh. What? Did I fat finger it to the point where we skipped all of that? Oh no! Oh! Look at me cocking it up.
Ah,
So, it's not part 2 of Mr. Binger, it's just court matters.
yeah.
Damn. Well, shit.
Scheiße happens.
Well, to be quite honest, what I really wanted to happen with Joseph's, I'm assuming now ex-girlfriend, former girlfriend, whatever, when she got onto the stand, she just blew the door wide open. So much so you could get a marching band and an elephant through it. Like, that's literally what I would have liked to have happened, but she didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're gonna stop it here because Mr. Richards is the next one.
Yeah.
So yeah, apologies for that. Anyway,
Ah, Scheiße happens.
Scheiße. But so yeah, stay hydrated. Wear sunscreen.
And if you plan going to Sweden, don't do it during midsummer because no people will be out. And don't trust the seagulls. And don't poop in the bed.
What do you mean midsummer?
Midsummer, our midsummer festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, no people are outside them. They're home eating and drinking their asses off. Only one is outside is the police.
True.
Wishing they were home, eating and drinking the shit off.
Well, I do have to say, every midsummer so far, there's been more and more police sirens.
Oh yeah.
So.
It's people drinking way too much.
Oh yeah. And then thinking they're perfectly fine to drive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna go. So bye guys.
Bye-bye.